Why do mechanics charge so much? Why do auto repair shops charge so much? Why do backyard mechanics? Some of them don't charge a lot, but generally when they don't, you're going to get bad work. Why do most mechanics in general just charge a lot of money to get your car worked on? Why is it so expensive? Let's get into it. I want to drop a few opinions that I have, opinions that are brought on by experience in the field. I'm a professional mechanic. I have been for 5 years. I want to give my opinions, my thoughts on what I've seen in the industry, what I've seen from auto repair shops, what I personally feel, the problems that I see, most like situations, troubled situations that I see customers face. I kind of want to touch on that. So, why do we charge so much? Well, I'm gonna start obviously with your dealerships. Dealerships charge so much because they're it. They're the cream of the crop. Cream of the crop. They're supposed to be the best mechanics. They're supposed to be very trustworthy. They're supposed to be very reliable. It's supposed to be, and some of them are, most of them aren't. But that's what they're supposed to be. So then on top of that, we'll use Michigan, for example. You have workers' liability, which is liability insurance, workers' comp. You have liability insurance just for owning and operating a mechanic business. You have to have specific insurance just for owning and operating that business due to the liability of working on customer cars and customers taking vehicles just in case somebody gets into an accident, gets hurt, or, God forbid, worse. So you got to have that insurance. You have to have overhead. So you have to obviously have the building, you have to have the hoists, you have to have the lighting, you have to have the big bay doors that'll fit cars and trucks through them. You have to have the electricity to push hoists up and down. You have to have welders. You have to have torches. You have to have the gas, the oxygen, acetylene for torches. You got to have the argon for welding. You got to have, there's a lot of materials that you have to have just as an auto repair shop before you even get into the tools that a mechanic has. So then, on top of that, most good shops, I've been at some that don't offer any tools, but most good shops will offer pretty much every specialty tool to the mechanic so that we don't have to buy them on ourselves, like timing tools or big ball joint kits or, like scan tools, the big expensive sets that you're only going to buy for one vehicle, and so they don't want the mechanic to have to buy that. The shop will generally buy that if they're a good shop. So then you factor that cost in. You factor commercial insurance. You factor building commercial insurance because it has to be a commercial property. And then you have to, I would imagine, have your attorneys. You have to have everybody backing you just so that you can do it all legally. Then on the flip side of that, you got to have the accounting. You got to have the business running aspect. You got to have service writers to talk to the customer. You have to have mechanics that you're paying to actually work on the vehicles. And I mean, service writers and mechanics, a good service writer makes about the same as a good mechanic. Great mechanics can far surpass a great service writer just because of the like exponential curve at the top side of the career. It jumps really fast when you get that kind of experience as a mechanic. But I mean, you have to pay all of that out just to work on one single car. Everything that I just mentioned has to be paid. So who's going to pay for that? It's going to end up being the customer. Most businesses, well, unless you're a nonprofit, all businesses are in business to make money. And if they're not in business to make money, then they're not going to stay in business. It's the only way to stay in business. It's the only way to keep your workers fed, to keep yourself fed, to keep your business growing or at least steady, So you have to charge the customer X amount. So for most shops in the area that I'm in, it's like $140 to $180 per labor hour that I, the mechanic, work on your car, plus parts, plus a diagnostic fee. And some shops will waive the diagnostic fee. That's a whole other issue, whole other scam that I could touch on in a different video. But you have labor hours and you have parts. And then there's generally a couple extra nonsense in there for the shady shops. But we'll say, I'm going to use really small examples. So we'll say a set of brakes, front brakes on a 2010 Chevy Equinox. It pays an hour, right? So it pays 1 hour of labor to the mechanic. So you're going to get charged 1 hour of labor plus typically your 0.5 or 1 hour diagnostic to diagnose the brakes, which Brakes are iffy. It changes by the shop on what you get paid for diagnosing brakes because it's really easy. You just got to pull the wheel out. So whatever that is, that'll be factored into it, as well as the price of the parts. So auto repair shops generally get parts at a wholesale cost, which is like 30% lower than what the customer is. Then they mark them up to, that's pretty much where auto repair shops make their money. That's where our margin is in the parts. So you have to pay that as a customer. You pay for the labor that I work on the car, the labor that I'm supposed to work on the car. If it takes me longer and whatever took me longer was out of your control, you should not have to pay for that unless the shop is not operating correctly. But for the most part, you should have that 1 hour plus, we'll say $150 in parts. So if your labor rate's $150 plus your 0.5 diagnostic, so 150, 75. So 75 plus 150. Now I'm bad at math, what, 135 or 235 plus your parts, which is another 150. So that's where the cost comes from. That's why it adds up so fast, and that's why it's so expensive, because there's so much that an auto repair shop has to pay for just in order to work on cars. And then on the other side, as a mechanic, I've got $30,000 into my toolbox just to work on your guys' car. So it has to be worth it for me to keep buying those tools, for me to even move my toolbox to a place or to even use my tools, because those were a huge investment for me, and they still are a huge investment for me. So I have to get paid what I'm worth, because most people could not do what I do because they don't have the tools, they don't have the knowledge, they don't have the experience, and that is why I get paid what I do. And I still have to eat. I'm still human. I'm still a dad. I'm still a father and a husband. But I would say on average, with the cost of tools taken out and all that, I mean, mechanics are one of the lowest paid trades for the mechanic itself, whereas the auto repair shops, they do make pretty good money. But yeah, on a very, very broad spectrum, looking in from the outside, that is what I would say of why they cost so much. Now I can give some breakdowns on like the shady stuff or what you should look out for, which I've done that a little bit, but yeah, I mean, realistically, your shop should be anywhere from 130 to 210, depending on your area. Like, I guess I can't even really speak for like California, Texas, but depending on your area, Michigan, cars are really rusty. They break all the time. So you're generally going to get another call like, hey, this bolt broke off. Hey, this broke off and I need an extra couple hours. But that should have also been communicated to you before the job was ever started. And they should have told you, hey, it's a high likelihood that X is going to happen and that's going to require X more money. But anyway, that's what I got. That is my opinions, my thoughts. Let me know if you agree, disagree, and what you would like to see next. I can definitely dive deeper into the subject. But yeah, thank you guys. Later.